Hey guys, just got back from flying the F-18. Did the maiden flight. I got 6 flights on it. Just thought I'd share some of my findings with the airplane. Um, Overall, pretty happy with it. I'm running for power a Jet Fan 90 with a 1500 kV motor on 8 cells. So same setup I had on my Freewing F4, and it flies the airplane real nice. I get pretty good flight times out of it. I can't stand a 3-minute flight thing. I don't get it. But anyways, this is pretty good. I got about 5 minutes on 5800s with a little bit left to go. I did fly it on some smaller packs. I flew it on some 4000s and 5000s. 4000s got me uh, about 4.5 minutes. The 4000s got me about 3.5. So 5800s are close to 5 minutes. 5000s are a little over 4, and the 4000s got me pretty much 3 to 3.5. Flying it, using some throttle management. That's not flying it wide open. The airframe is pretty much stock. Those of you who know me know I don't usually leave things alone, but in this case, I left it mostly stock. I'll go over a couple of things I did. One of the things I did was I actually painted the inside with like a Krylon chrome paint for the center burner so it reflects better. It shows up pretty good. That's the RC Geek center burner. I am running a kind of a overkill ESC on this thing because it's all I have. It's a ICE 120, and it's really heavy. It weighs like half a pound or something crazy like that. But it does have a built-in BEC, which is nice. It does weigh 9 pounds even with the 5800s, which is kind of heavy. Everyone's talking about how light this plane was, and then I weighed it and I go, holy cow, man, this thing weighs a ton. It is 8.25 pounds with the 4000s. So, but I'll be real honest with you guys. I really didn't notice much of a difference in the air. Granted, it was pretty breezy today. It was about 10 to 15 miles an hour. So, but yeah, landing speed wise, I didn't notice a huge difference. So let me go over a couple of mods I did. First mod you'll see here is I actually extended the hatch. On the stock 6 cell setup, I'm sure the stock hatch works great. But for me, running these bigger packs and everything, it just seemed like it was going to be too hard to fit everything. So all I did was just extend the hatch, remove the hatch latch back, just extended it, which, I don't see any real negative effect. You might have structural issues if you have a really hard landing, but hopefully that never happens. So anyways, here we go. This is 8 cell 5000, a 3 cell and a 5 cell. I changed the plate's still basically in the same stock location, but I clearanced out some of this foam and all that, and my receiver and the blue box are down here in this lower bay below the wood. I'll pull the packs out and show you guys to give a better idea, but the other issue with the stock setup is the blue box is right back in here and makes it hard to put the batteries in it. So I extended the hatch. I bypassed the blue box, not entirely. Only I left the whole wing set up stock. So the tails and the rudders and the engine or the fan and the retracts are all on connected directly to the receiver. So I did want to go over my control throws and my CG. I started off with the factory recommended CG at about 90 millimeters, which is right at about the end of this plastic. It's right in here. I think they say 88, but most guys are running 90. It flew decent at that CG. I ended up farther back than there, just kind of experimenting because it's just what I like to do. So this mark I found that's easy to go off of is we have this line right here. It's not really a panel line. I think it's part of their molding process. But anyways, the back of this plastic is basically factory right in here. And I am just forward of this line. So I think it measures out to be about 100 millimeters or 102 millimeters. Um, it rotated a lot nicer. Not that it rotated poorly with the stock CG, but it rotated a lot nicer off the ground. And I actually didn't even have any trim change, which was crazy. Maybe like a click or two at the most. But I'm still running the stock servos everywhere. I know people complain about the stab servos. To me, it seemed like it was flying pretty smooth, and it's pretty fast in the setup. I didn't notice anything weird going on there. Though I did, most people don't do this, but because I can't show you, but when I connected the push rod of the servo arm, I used the innermost hole. In other words, the hole in the arm that's closest to the center or to the pivot point of the arm. That gives you more leverage, and it allows the servo to, if there is slop in the setup or slop in the servo, it translates to less out here on the flight control, basically, and gives it a better gear ratio, if you will. It'd be like putting a car in first gear instead of third gear. So it allows the servo to do more work for you, and it's easier on the servos. And then on the other flight controls, I went to the second hole, flaps and ailerons. It wasn't too hard to get these set up. I don't like having flaps on one channel because they're hard to get centered, but it wasn't too bad. At some point I might try to do full span flaps, but for now I'm just going to roll with the stock flap setup. But I'll show you what I did as far as my control setup. On the real Hornet, they mix a little bit of basically Tailoron with aileron. So that's what I did here. Now I basically ended up flying. This is my full rate, and it ended up being really good. It's not too hot, but it's definitely enough to counteract gusty conditions and things of that nature. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure everything, and then I'll let you guys know. But this is my full rate elevator. And that seemed to work pretty good. It wasn't oversensitive or anything. And I have a lot of rudder. This is my full rate rudder. The rudders are incredibly powerful. So if your rudders aren't properly trimmed or they're not neutral, you are going to have serious issues in the air. Even just tapping the rudder at speed essentially rolls the airplane. They are very, very powerful. And I discovered that a wheel knife edge, it just takes a light touch and some good counter stick to keep it going straight. Other things I noticed, there's been a couple of guys that have crashed these because they lost power, and I can understand why. If the gear and the flaps are out and you lose power, this thing drops like a boulder. I mean, the sink rate is unbelievable with the gear and the flaps out. And I know mine's heavier and I'm flying at 4,000 feet. That has something to do with it as well. But yeah, if you lose power, unless you're really high, you're probably screwed unless you're really close to the runway. And even still, it bleeds speed so quickly. Once the gear come out, man, you can tell it's a lot of drag. And with the flaps, that really just adds to it. Clean, it seems like it actually glides decent. It seems like a semi-clean airframe. It's pretty quick, and I cut that power, you can glide a little bit. High alpha is pretty good. Stays pretty stable. It'll get to a point where you're in the power a lot, and the angle gets to the point where it will break loose, and it'll snap to one side. But that doesn't occur until the airplane is basically almost stopped, and you're full up and on the power pretty heavy. So you can do nice high alpha passes at a reasonable angle and speed. And the landings are easy. I like the landings. A little bit of flap. Let me show you my flap amount. I noticed, it was pretty windy today, so I did do a couple of full flap landings, but it seemed to be a bit much. Half flap seemed to work really nice. So here is my half flap setting. And I kind of just guessed at my mix, and it ended up really close. And this is full flap, which is basically as much flap as you can put into it. which really isn't that much angle. It's only about 35 degrees, but yeah. So I'll get the measurements and maybe I'll post them in the video. But definitely, if you guys plan on running more packs than just the standard 6L, I would extend the hatch. It's not that hard to do. I do plan on touching the model up and kind of repainting the whole thing. I haven't picked an exact scheme yet, but it'll be a low-vis two-tone. Anywho, those are my first impressions of the airplane. 6 flights, pretty good vertical, great speed, very stable at low speeds, and even in the wind it tracked real nice. So very happy with it so far, minus my landing light doesn't work and the green light on this side doesn't work, so that kind of sucks. But anywho, overall pretty happy with it. And yep, once they're set up right and you have power the whole time, it'll fly great. And hopefully we'll get some video of it in the air in the next couple of days if we get some decent weather. All right, hope you guys enjoyed and enjoy your 4th of July in a couple of days. We'll see you next time.